Forget about Taco Tuesday. We've got 2-round Tuesday going on. What's coolin'? What's going on? We have a mock draft. We're ready to rumble here. And it is going to be more of a graphic template version where you're already going to see some things and you're already going to be like, oh, you did what? You put this player? Like, this is going to be more of a for fun, like some players I like to throw out there because maybe I'm a little higher on some dudes. I'm still going to try to keep things within reason, but at the same time, I might YOLO some things as we're seeing at the number 2 overall pick here for the New Orleans Saints. We'll get into that here in a minute, but let's dive into this 2-round mock draft and start off with the Drew Aller pick to the Cleveland Browns. The draft order I made myself, and we'll just kind of dabble into it as the season progresses and go from there. With this pick, though, I'm going Drew Aller, quarterback from Penn State, like I did yesterday, but I didn't have to trade up in this one since, in this case, they're picking at number 1 overall. And I just feel like Drew Aller is gotten better and better each and every season. He's got the exceptional arm talent that you're going to need in the cold weather here. And he's a little bit better of an athlete than you think about, too. I think he's gotten better as a progressor with his reads and overall anticipation. Still is coming along. And so far, what I've seen this year, it's been really good. And I think Drew Aller is a guy that I feel very confident is a first-round type of prospect in this draft class. Here is the shocker. It's Marcel Reed from Texas A&M, the quarterback, the agile Houdini-level quarterback there who reminds me a lot of Jayden Daniels. Now, he is very much early Jayden Daniels when he was at Arizona State. I think he comes back for another season, and then next year he'll get that due process, and I think he could end up being a top 5 selection when it's all said and done. But for me personally, when I watch Marcel Reed, my hair sticks up and I'm just like going crazy because this guy is on a different level. The dude is an absolute game changer. He is your offense in many ways. And they've got some great players like Le'Veon Moss and, you name it, right? Ruben Owens. They've got some solid wide receivers with KC Concepcion, who's played exceptional this season so far, not just as a receiver, but in the return game. Going back to Marcel Reed, though, he has to get better with his accuracy. That, to me, is his biggest Achilles heel at the moment. The decision-making isn't perfect either, and I do think he's slow to process the field. He is a very raw prospect, but there's so much I love about Marcel Reed. He's got plenty of arm talent, some really, really nice plays that he's able to only Marcel Reed is able to make. He does that sort of thing. He reminds me so much of Jayden Daniels. Maybe not quite that level of athlete, but he's definitely a very good one. He needs to also put on some weight. That is another big thing with Marcel Reed. But I'm a huge, huge fan of Marcel, and I think he can be a top 5 selection at some point in his career. Spencer Fanu, right tackle, Utah to the New York Giants. One of the most athletic tackles you're going to find. If he gets stronger, then this dude is a bona fide superstar in the making. The Giants, the G-men, let's go solidify that tackle position, especially with the injuries that they've had with AT. They need to continue to make sure that they can protect Jackson Dart into the future. Even Russell Wilson, you got to protect him. On to the New England Patriots, I'm going Ruben Bain Jr. Let's build up the pass rush. You figure Harold Landry is still around town, but at the same time, I want to make sure we're adding in some more youth into the room. Let's do that here with Ruben Bain, who's been such a disruptive force for the Hurricanes. He looks like he's back to the freshman Ruben Bain that we all love and felt. And then early on, it's like, yeah, that dude is a top 5 pick in the draft. Keldrick Folk, another guy that looks like a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. He's got the traits, he's got the tools, no doubt about it. And he has been putting it together with more hand swipes and more maneuvers and stuff like that. Still coming along technically. I think he is already, though, very much a dude that I feel confident is at least a top 15, top 10 pick at the moment. And for the Titans, I want to build up more edge rusher here as well after losing Harold Landry. And now you look at this room and you say to yourself, okay, you got Draymond Jones, you got Arden Key, long term. What do we got in here? So let's improve the edge room. And with that theme, continue along going TJ Parker, the power rusher. A lot of different flavors in what you have with these guys. Bain's probably the most agile out of the group. Folk has the most traits. I think Parker has the most power. And Parker brings in somebody else with Umami Ellen and also Nick Scordon. I still want to make sure we're adding more players in here. And it was a problem for them in week 1. I want to give those guys time. They're rookies. I'm not expecting immediate results. I still think, though, you got Pat Jones. Like, there's nothing there that is, like, overly throwing me off. TJ Woonham, I believe, he's a free agent after this season. DJ Johnson really hasn't done anything. So at the moment, I want to continue to add pass rush. And that's why I felt let's do this. Instead of going quarterback here, I don't want to give up on Bryce Young because it wasn't all on him in that game versus the Jags. And the Jags have a great defense. I think people are going to be surprised how good the Jaguars defense is this season. On to the Miami Dolphins. Jamon McCoy, the Tennessee corner. Let's go ahead and get that number one corner in here. Losing Jalen Ramsey, who was the game winner there. Man, Jalen Ramsey, oh my gosh, that hit. I can still hear that hit out here, but woo! And as a Jets fan, trust me, it's a little bit sad to say, but let's go get Jamon McCoy here to be that number one guy for the Miami Dolphins. Safety, Caleb Downs. Do I need to say a whole ton more about Caleb Downs? I don't. He's a beast. And we go ahead, and if Cisco isn't back after the season, then he can end up coming in there with Malachi Moore for the future. Peter Woods, another position where it not needed to be a whole ton of explanation here. They need more interior presence. Let's go to Clemson. Let's get this stud on the defensive line for the Raiders to build that foundation piece. They've got some nice pieces in there with Lalu, and then also with Adam Butler's in there. I think that long-term, though, let's continue to add some more help into the room. Then we go on to the Bears, who had a tough loss last night, had the lead, and then just kind of fell apart a little bit at the end. Dennis Sutton can close out the show. That's maybe they need a little more pass rush into the room. I do think Odangbo played a pretty good game. Sweat was fine, too. They could look to move on from Sweat at some point. Booker, when he gets back healthy, that'd be great. But I'm not sure what that timetable is on him. I just saw him on the IR, so that's a little unfortunate because he was so good in preseason. He's been a preseason warrior. But Dennis Sutton gives them some more pass rush and some more help that they could really use off the sort of trenches. Francis Malinois from Miami, the Hurricane, right tackle. Some people view him as a guard. In some schemes, maybe he will be a guard. He's not the most athletically gifted or nothing like that, laterally agility. But I think he gets the job done. And I still feel like he can fit in as a tackle, especially for this Colts team that has a lot of tight end chip help for their tackles. Maui Noah gives them that ability to be just a rock solid, steady piece. It's going to be a mover in the run game. And he's been a great pass protector at Miami. He's just so difficult to get through. You have to get around him. And I think he's better than what you think with his speed and what he gets credit for out there. So the Colts go get their Braden Smith replacement here at the right tackle. Then we go on to the Seattle Seahawks, who go get their right tackle of the future, and Trevor Gooseby. Gooseby's a lot of talent, a lot of upside. I still think he's a very raw prospect when it comes to his hand usage. Maui Noah knows how to use his hands, right? That's why I went with Maui Noah above Trevor Gooseby. But Gooseby, if he can figure out his hand delivery, he's got the potential to be a top 5 type tackle. And so does Maui Noah. Don't get me wrong. Like, I like Maui Noah a lot. I think Gooseby's got a little bit more upside, so you have to figure out what do you want to go with. And Gooseby's played right tackle, so he has experience over there at right and left tackle. Seattle, let's go. Let's go ahead and lock that in. Denver Broncos. Ooh, that's a blooper right there. But I'm going with an inside linebacker, C.J. Allen, the Clemson Bulldog, the dog himself. The dude has incredible instincts. And maybe most recent comp, you could say Roquan Smith, the type of player, Bobby Wagner, and I don't want to compare him to a Hall of Famer, but hey, the dude is a monster. C.J. Allen, crazy instincts. I don't see him miss any tackles. I think his coverage instincts need to get a little bit better, but Georgia, they don't really call a ton with their linebackers to put on coverage assignments and things like that. So it's pretty simple stuff. But Allen definitely has that trait that I look for in that dog mentality, pun intended. And the thing going back with the Broncos here is why I selected him. It's like you look at their linebacking room. You got Dre Greenlaw still under contract, but besides that, it's looking a little bit interesting. Drew Sanders hasn't really worked out there. So Singleton, if he's not brought back, then I think it would make sense to go ahead and improve the linebacking core. And we got Mansour Delane, who's been insane this year. It stepped up in that Clemson game. He was locked down, like straight up locked down. And for the Rams, their secondary was pretty good versus the Houston Texans. Kobe Durant, unbelievable. But now I want to continue to add into that room, add in some good dude with a little more size as well. Mansour Delane, going to be another perimeter corner for this football team. And then we go on to the Dallas Cowboys. BPA, Jordan Tyson. this is maybe a little bit of a CeeDee Lamb reminiscent and falling, and you go ahead and just select your player in here. And Jordan Tyson, to me, is going to give them another number 2 option. If George Pickens isn't re-signed, which I do think there's a real good chance he does get re-signed, so maybe a little unrealistic here. We'll see how it goes. It's too early to say it's unrealistic or it's not unrealistic because Pickens could also want a massive contract. I think Tyson would be a great option for this football team if he's available. I just can't pass up the talent at this point for the Cowboys, and they've got another first rounder where we can address some of those needs later on. And then we go on to the Minnesota Vikings. Skull, where we go get Keith Abney II from Arizona State. He's a very, very smooth mover, smooth operator, and he's just a very, very good man coverage corner. And that's what I love to see. And for the Minnesota Vikings, Brian Flores, let's go get that cornerback in here to help out this room. To the Cincinnati Bengals here, where we're going tackle. We're going Caleb Lomu from Utah, the other Utah tackle, the left tackle over there. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, Orlando Brown, we can try to make a little upgrade here of the future, and we can figure things out. Hey, I'll stick Lomu over at right guard if we need to at the time being, or we'll figure things out, as I mentioned before. But there is a possibility, too, that Orlando Brown Jr. could be a cap casualty after the season to save $14 million. Definitely a possibility with this football team. So all things on the table. I like Lomu a lot. I just think the value is exceptional. I'm not passing up on a guy who I think is super athletic, can be a great pass protector for this football team, and also can be a good run blocker, too, for them. I think his angles are exceptional. While he doesn't have dominating power and doesn't have the power level of Orlando Brown Jr. or Super Saiyan style or nothing like that, but I think he is very, very good with his angles and connecting at the second level. So I'm going to just add a very good offensive lineman here. On to the Cardinals. Makai Lemon, let's add another playmaker into the room, and I want to improve the offense some more. The defense, they've added in so many pieces, so I figure let's try to improve the offense a little bit. It comes down to maybe a right tackle if Jonah Williams is re-signed or not, and then possibly an interior offensive lineman / wide receiver. Those would be the areas I'd look at for the Cardinals, and I figure Makai Lemon will give him another route runner in the room with some good speed. Connor Lew, let's hit the potty room now, because their offensive line right now is kind of in the toilet. So I figure, I know it's pretty bad. My jokes are pretty bad at it if you didn't already know about that. But the Houston Texans, they have to improve the offensive line. Did I mention their offensive line is still bad? Because it is. And I figure you just take the best offensive player available. Don't worry about this position, that position. I'm just taking the best offensive lineman available. Jake Andrews was solid when he was in there. He did get a little banged up in week 1, and then Jared Patterson was ended up filling in for him. Whether Andrews sticks there at center, you move one of these guys over to guard, just get the best offensive lineman. Like, don't overthink things. Do this. He's like a Tyler Linderbaum type of player, then just take him, right? You need good offensive linemen. And then we go on to the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going Caleb Banks, the interior defensive lineman. He's yet to play this season. He should be back very, very soon. He's the ultimate disruptor, and the 49ers definitely could use that. He just feels like a Robert Saleh type of cat on that defense line with his high motor. On to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was trying to hold that one back. Lenore Sellers. You go get your Ben Roethlisberger meets Cam Newton, whatever type of mold this player can be. A lot of upside with Lenore Sellers. There's also, with that upside, a lot of downside with Lenore Sellers. Where's that floor? Well, it is where it is. But Lenore Sellers, if you can develop this guy, he has the traits to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I figure the swing here makes a ton of sense for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. Maybe you can convince Rodgers to come back for one more year, letting Lenore Sellers sit for a season. That would be great. Or you bring in a veteran to be able to have Lenore sit then, or something of that nature. But at this point, I'm taking that chance. We go on to the Detroit Lions. LT Overton, self-explanatory. They need more pass rush. They can't just rely on Aiden Hutchinson, and he's going to take a little bit of time, I imagine, this year to get fully up to gear and everything like that. But Overton is a creative pass rusher that knows how to use his plan, knows how to use his hands plan. He has got all of that, Sam, but either which way, Overton, a really nice player, doesn't have the crazy explosiveness or burst or anything like that, but he definitely is a solid athlete for his size. They can also play on the inside as well. On to the Browns with their second selection in the first round, Avion Terrell. Remember, Greg Newsome is a free agent. He played really good, actually, in the first game. I thought he did a great job versus Jamar Chase, so got to give him some props there. He only had one PI call too versus him on the sideline, which was a little questionable too, in my opinion. But Terrell, if they lose Newsome, if contract speaks otherwise, right? Because the money for them is a little tricky. So Newsome may not be a guy that they're able to re-sign. Avion Terrell could give them that corner replacement here. Isaiah World, going to be the right tackle of the future for them, with Rob Avenstein being the free agent here. So why not invest in Isaiah World, a big, monstrous tackle with a lot of upside at Oregon now. And then we go on to the Bucks, Sonny Styles. It's sunny in Tampa. Well, let's go ahead and a nice Sonny Styles linebacker. Ohio State University, a great linebacker prospect with all the traits. Could literally play safety if he lost a little weight if he wanted to. He's got that level of athleticism, smooth operator, smooth mover. And we go ahead and add that Levante David of the future. Don't even say that right now. Then we got Mateo Uyunglele, the edge rusher, going to the Chiefs from Oregon, the Duck. He is another dude that knows how to use his hands and knows how to get off of offensive tackles. Very, very creative. Doesn't have the crazy explosive burst, but he has enough to get the job done. And the Chiefs, they need more pass rush. They're just not good enough right now. On to the Ravens. I'm going to continue to bolster the defensive line. Let's add in Christian Miller. A lot of upside with him. He's getting his opportunity. It's still early in the season, so I want to see how he comes along, but the traits are all there, and the guy has oozing potential to be a great rotational piece in there with Peebles and, of course, Madubuike and Jones and Washington. I do think their depth is something, and going into the future, I think Miller would really help them out there. Tight end, Kenyon Sadiq, going to be a yak monster for them in this offense. And also, he's got a lot of upside here with their tight end room right now. Dallas Goedert is a free agent. Really good chance, in my opinion, that he gets re-signed. He's such a beast. But their contract situation just is one of the toughest. But Howie Roseman, he's so creative with his contracts. I'm sure he'll get it done if he wants it to. Kenyon Sadiq, though, would be an option for them in this tight end class. Edge, we're going David Bailey from Stanford, the super fluid, super bendy, explosive pass rusher, going to be a bolt of electricity for this football team. And that's what I figure. Let's continue to add and bolster the pass rush. Khalil Mack, if he retires after the season. On to the Dallas Cowboys. Let's add in a nice, lovely Jeremiah Love. Let's get a beast of a running back. Well, he's not my number one running back at the moment. I do think he's probably got the most upside. He's also one of the youngest players in the draft class, too. Jeremiah Love. He's a beast. And yeah, I mean, he didn't have the greatest game week 1 versus Miami, but the Hurricanes did whatever they could to stop him. So I think that's something you have to look at too. Love's a great player. Dallas, they need some running back for the long term. Javonte Williams, good in week 1 and everything like that. I'm not discounting him or anything like that. Like, they've got a good offensive line too to help them on that interior to run block. You know what I mean? So you add a Jeremiah Love, it could be something really, really special. Edge-wise, we're for the Washington Commanders, Gabe Akes from Illinois. This guy's a beast. He was somebody I was mocking in the first round last year, and I'm going to do it again this year. Akes is a dude that has insane hand usage. He's gotten even better with that. The dude is a good athlete as well for his size. Definitely a dude, if he's not on your radar, watch out for Gabe Akes. This guy can get after the quarterback with a multitude set and his plan. Then we got Chase Besantis from Texas A&M. This is a guy that flashed for me right when I watched him as a freshman. Man, oh man, can this guy block. He's a tough-nosed run blocker. He's got good lateral agility and pass pro. Still needs to get a little bit better in terms of his technique there. But in general, I think this guy's got all the traits to be a very, very good left guard of the future for this Buffalo Bills football team, to be the replacement for David Edwards and just continue that offensive line trend for them. Now into the second round. I do apologize. I ran out of time, so no pictures in the second round. And I'm probably going to go through this a little quicker here. Any which way. Hey, we're having a lot of fun with this. Let's go. I love these mock drafts. We go on to the Browns here at the top of the second. Drew Shelton. I'm going to invest in the tackle room. They could not protect. I feel like his hand usage is really, really good. That's one of the things I love about Drew Shelton. He's got really a nice punch on contact. He reminds me a little bit build-wise of a Troy Fautanu style of player. Maybe not quite the level of athleticism or nothing, but really do like Shelton. I think he's got a lot of upside over there, whether it's tackle or guard for this football team early on. Now, going on to the Saints, you got Vega Ione from Penn State. He's somebody that I think could be a really, really good left guard of the future for them. Like, that's still something that this team needs to figure out, is that left guard position. So that's why I want to address this here right now. That's going to be a potential big time void for them. So I want to just put Iona in there and help protect your quarterback, whoever that may be. In this case scenario, we got Marcel Reed and a very interesting move, of course, for a lot. I'm sure people are going to be talking about that one. On to the G menu. I'm going to Anthony Hill Jr., linebacker, Texas. Hook 'em horns, baby. If Bobby Okereke does end up being if somebody they release after this season, Michael McFadden is a free agent. So all those things in factor coordination. Darius Muasau has some limitations in coverage. Anthony Hill gets some more dynamicism in this room. He's just a dynamic blitzer. He's all around the football as a playmaker. This guy is going to be another fifth element to this defense. New England, we go back-to-back receivers with these football teams, New England and Tennessee. Carnell Tate for the Patriots, going to be a nice number one X prototypicals. Got that size in the room to help out Drake May, give him a good target. And then Chris Bell going to give them the A.J. Brown of the... I know, I'm sure you've heard this one before. You're like, oh, Treylon Burks all over again. But hey, at least this time you get him in the second round. And Chris Bell has a lot of upside here. Bell, certainly a guy that could be a great number one option if he hits. And you just got to take chances, right? But the traits, the athletic profile with this guy are definitely there. And I do think he can run some routes. Quarterbacks now going back to back. With the Carolina Panthers starting off with Carson Beck. I thought he played excellent versus the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And he's a guy that I'm just a little higher on at this point. I think he really reads the field excellent. I think his accuracy is really, really good. And somebody that can limit those decision-making issues through the season, I think he's a bona fide first-round pick. He's got the arm talent as well. In Carolina, let's take a chance on a quarterback at this point. And you always think, oh, well, you think of the C.J. Strouds or whatever. We're going to go with the opposite end of what we had with Bryce Young. Now we'll go with more of a bigger quarterback, and that's Carson Beck, I guess. So it's a little bit of an opposite effect here. Miami, I'm going Garrett Nussmeier, and he's probably the most locked-in first-round quarterback right now in terms of just purely consensus. For me, though, I'm still a little lower on Nussmeier. I'm coming around. I want to see it more as the season progresses. It's not just one game. I want to see it through a full sample size. If he continues to play like he did versus the Clemson Tigers, then we can start to feel better about those sort of things. But the decision-making issues are still questionable. I wonder, too, like on third and longs, is he that guy? Sometimes I feel like he's a little bit of a check-down Charlie, too. So for me, second round, he can back up to a Tagovailoa and maybe give him a little bit of a push if need be. Jets. We're going with Charles Jagusah from Notre Dame, the offensive lineman who had a little bit of an accident there in the offseason, so hopefully arms all good to go here very, very soon. He is one of the most gifted offensive line prospects you're going to find, really. He's just, the dude is built. He's got athletic profile. He could be an absolute first-round pick if maybe he comes back for a season. Who knows? He still could be a first-round pick in this year's draft, depending on how things go. But the offensive interior, with the news and everything going on now with ABT, it makes sense. John Simpson going to a contract year, I believe, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure he is. Either which way, like, we could improve the guard depth. The depth that we have right now is a little bit interesting. So I think Jagusah would be a nice pick for this football team, at least to give them some depth and then a starter for the long haul, especially if ABT is not back for us after this season. Jacoby Lane, Las Vegas. Let's go to USC. Pete Carroll, close to, hey, that's something he's a little familiar with. Jacoby Lane's an absolute beast. And I felt like Jacoby Myers being a free agent, we had another Jacoby Myobi into this offense for Geno Smith. Chicago, Harold Perkins. Lasts no longer. Harold Perkins, a dynamic athlete, somebody that comes in here and gives them a more edge rush. At the same time, like on situational downs, can be a crazy pass rusher and also can fill that linebacking room if they end up moving on for Tremaine Edmonds this season or something like that. He had a pretty good game, though, versus the Vikings. At least I thought he made some plays. He had one knockdown and a couple of good tackles. So we'll keep an eye on him through the season. What happens there, that is something I'm just going to monitor. Then we go on to the Indianapolis Colts here. Another linebacker off the board. Arvell Reese from The Ohio State University. Another dude with some elite traits to his game. Oh my goodness, baby. This guy can do it all. And you put him next to a great linebacker in Jair Franklin. I think that'd be a nice little 1-2 punch with a little more athleticism that Reese provides. Seattle, Will Lee III. And we're going to bring in a corner that can help replace Reek Woolen if he ends up moving on a free agency. Their lack of depth, too, right now is just going to be something to question. And with Nicky Manwari, who could play a little safety, can play a little corner for this football team. So I understand that. That's why I went ahead and made sure we got an outside corner. Will Lee is that. He's a physical presence there for the Aggies at Texas A&M. Denver, Michael Gyllenborg, one of my favorite tight ends in the class. This guy is an absolute underrated monster over at Wyoming. The guy has crazy athleticism. He reminds me, the way he runs a little bit like Travis Kelce. Different football players, but he's definitely a receiving element. He's not the best blocker, and that's okay. He can learn and sit behind Evan Ingram. He can be in that sort of a role that Evan Ingram is. Ingram is still under contract, but I think for the future, Gyllenborg would make a lot of sense. Give Bo Nix another weapon, too, in the offense. Linebacker Whit Weeks for the Atlanta Falcons. This was a tough one for me. I really did struggle with where to go with the Falcons. I thought of many different avenues that we could go. They could even look at a tight end potentially if Kyle Pitts ends up walking. He had a good game, and it looks like he's got good chemistry with Michael Penix, so that's promising. And that's why, okay, we'll hold off on that. So I went after an inside linebacker. They could maybe add a nose tackle in here too, so that's something maybe they could go after. Someone like Kaden McDonald from the Ohio State University we're going to see come off the board in a little bit, or Darrell Jackson. Definitely possibilities if you want to add a bigger nose tackle into the room. I went with Whit Weeks, though, to give him a linebacker to pair along with Divine Diablo in the room if Caden Ellis is not back after this season. Dallas, safety, Kamari Ramsey. He's a beast. I don't really need to say a whole ton more. The guy's, he's just an ultimate playmaker back there that, he's not, I wouldn't call him like an insane pick artist, but he knows how to make plays. I think he can come up down to the box, play everywhere, really, and it's going to be a nice little replacement for this football team to, at least for right now, because I figure they'll probably keep Malik Hooker, but Donovan Wilson being a free agent, that makes sense to at least add one safety into the room. Then we go on to the Minnesota Vikings. Skull, back on the clock. We're going Caden McDonald, the interior defensive line. And we add a nice beast up in the front there, who is more of a bull rushing nose tackle type of player that is stout and going to help them out there, give them some more youth on the interior. It's definitely something this football team could utilize, even though they've got some guys in there with Allen and Hargrave still under contract. And then they do have some youth, Levi Davis Rodriguez. Watch out for him. Okay, and Jalen Redmond. I think McDonald, though, is a little bit of a different role and can be a nice little nose tackle for this football team on what they lost from Harrison Phillips. Now, scheme changes are some things out there, too, but McDonald's versatile. Cincinnati, I'm going safety Dillon Thieneman from Oregon, a nice safety prospect with good athletic profile, solid size as well. He could be that Geno Stone replacement after the season and a 1-2 punch with Jordan Battle that I think would really fit for this team. Arizona, I'm going interior Caden Green from Missouri, the next Missouri offensive line prospect, right? I think he is going to be a nice player that moves inside the guard once again, playing tackle this season. However, I do think he ends up being a guard, and he definitely has plenty enough athleticism for the position. And he's not an elite athlete by any standards or anything like that, but I think he's got enough to get the job done, and he's powerful and can be a good, solid replacement if they end up losing Evan Brown after this offseason. Trying to improve the interior a little bit here for the Cardinals, at least add in another offensive lineman into the room. Dominique Orange, the interior defense lineman from Iowa State, who is a powerful nose tackle that has great leverage. And he's also got some upside as a pass rusher, too. Houston need to get better on the interior, so he can be a nice little 4-3 nose tackle type of player who can also play a little 3-tech as well and gives them some much-needed help there on that interior and some youth. San Francisco 49ers, we're adding offensive tackle Xavier Chaplin, the Chatman. He's going to be a nice developmental left tackle. And he's got a lot of traits, and you're going to hear some things with this guy throughout this process. I could see him going in the first round depending on how this season goes. He certainly has all the tools at Auburn now. He transferred from Virginia Tech. He's got great size, good athleticism, just needs to get better with his hands and his footwork. And that is something to mention, okay? Right now, maybe he's a little bit of a Tyler Guyton type of player, but certainly has a lot of tools that are going to be coveted in the NFL and could sit for a season behind Trent Williams. Pittsburgh, the Steelers, I'm going Nick the Quick. Let's add in a nice little running back into the room and give them that long-term runner. And you got your quarterback with Lenore Sellers. What a combination that would be with your read options and Nick Singleton. On to the Detroit Lions. I'm going and improving the offensive line some more. Jake Slaughter from Florida. fills right in for Graham Glasgow. They need to improve the offensive line. After week 1, it's night as day. I mean, yes, you have a tough defensive line you're going up against in Green Bay, but it was everywhere, really, that they were struggling at moments through the game, especially in the interior. And Tate Ratledge, I can give some time there and everything like that, but Mahogany had some couple of reps he missed. Glasgow really struggled. So I think that adding in Jake Slaughter, the center from Florida, this guy is, he's really tried, true, and tested. Great prospect. Could even be a first rounder after this season. Wouldn't shock me. And then on to the Jacksonville Jags. At this pick, we're going to be taking a safety, Zakee Wheatley, the safety from Penn State. And this is a dude that immediately flashed, like taking a look at him at the Notre Dame tape. And it's like, okay, everyone's looking at this defense. There's so many good football players. Zakee Wheatley is a guy that we got to watch out for this season. Definitely a dude that has a little bit more range than you would expect for a guy 6'2", 200 plus pounds, and definitely has a good size profile, take on players and tackling ability, like all those sort of things. A solid all-around athlete that can make plays in the back end for this football team. And I think there's a good chance that Darnell Savage, they could end up moving on from him after the season. So you pair him up with Eric Murray. And also, Dewey's a free agent too after this season. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. So I think Zakee Wheatley makes a lot of sense for this Jags team in the second round. Rams, I'm going quarterback, Johnny Mateer. Let's go. I love John Mateer. Really fun player, a very polarizing prospect with a lot of upside, but he's also got to clean up some accuracy things and some decision-making at times, but he is one of the most dynamic athletes, and he plays a little bit like Patrick Mahomes. If you can develop him, oh, baby, it could be a really fun time with John Mateer. Tyreek Sapp, we're going to keep him in Florida, the edge rusher from Miami, or from Florida, pardon me, but the dude is a freak. Tyreek the Freak, the Sapp, and why not, right? They've already had luck with one guy named Sapp in the backfield, and now you added another with Tyreek Sapp. He has been the guy at Florida right now with Caleb Banks currently injured. KC, I'm going Jonah Coleman, the running back from Washington, my number 1 running back in the class right now. The dude is strong as a bull. He is faster than you would think. And man, oh man, can he block as well. He can receive. He can catch out of the backfield. Like, he's just a really complete back. I really like Jonah Coleman. Dude is a really good athlete. Better than I think he gets credit for right now. Baltimore, I'm going Max Clare, the Ohio State Buckeye. I'm going to take a tight end, right? Likely he's a free agent. So is Andrews. Why not add a tight end? I think one of those guys will be back. But for right now, I think that Clare would be a good option for them, at least for the future, if they do not, depending on what happens there. And Clare is an all-around tight end as well. Has a lot of solid athleticism, can catch the football, can also block. Cassius Howell, edge rusher for the Eagles. It's Howie Roseman thing. And it's bolstered the depth here at the edge room. That, to me, just kind of something they might want to do if Azeez Ojulari isn't back or whatever, right? Just want to continue to bolster the pass rush because it's Howie Roseman sort of thing, and it's something they also need, not just a Howie Roseman thing. Chargers, interior, we go back-to-back defensive line picks for them. Zane Durant from Penn State. Let's add a 3-tech into the room. They got Tyler Tart. I want to add in a nice little penetrating 3-tech on that defensive line. They got Caldwell as well, who's going to be more of a nose on that defensive line. So I figured let's add more of a pass rusher type of dude on that front. Then out of the pack, well, I want to add a nose tackle in here. In this case scenario, like they've got some 3-techs on that line, and Wooden and Wyatt. Now let's add in Darrell Jackson, a beast, right? You lose Kenny Clark. Now let's go add in somebody to replace him for the long haul. Darrell Jackson Jr. can be that guy. Super long, super strong, and definitely has the talent. Final 2 picks. I got the Houston Texans. Pardon me, got a little cut off there from the Commanders, but it's C.J. Baxter, the running back from Texas. Hook 'em horns, baby. And we go and add ourselves a all-around running back that easily could be a first-round pick, especially if he came back for another season. He's got Wisner there, too, right now with him. So Wisner's a good player. This pick could be Quintavious Wisner. I like him a lot, too. But Baxter definitely has the traits and the tools. And man, oh, man, a lot of talent there with Baxter. Getting fully healthy now has already looked pretty good this season, too, for the Horns. Final pick of the draft. Explaining that one, too. I think Mixon could end up being cut after this season to save some money. So you pair him up with Woody Marks. I think that'd be a great 1-2 punch, and their skill sets are very, very complementary. Then we go on to the Buffalo Bills. This is an interesting one here. Emmanuel McNeil Warren from Toledo, the Rocket. Oh, baby. This guy, he has got insane athletic traits and crazy good size. Maybe going to get the Nick Emanwari comps. I don't know if he's as explosive as Emanwari, but he is maybe a little even more fluid in that regard. But the dude can make plays in the back end, and he is already making plays at Toledo right now. So that's just something to monitor. I hear them some injury things, so that's going to be a big question. However, he is definitely a dude that could be a hot riser when we get into the pre-draft process. So really keep an eye on Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. This guy has a lot of traits and certainly has the film to back it up. He is a dog over at Toledo. And Toledo have produced some great football players, so don't discount small schools. They can produce some great NFL players. And I think Warren might be the next guy to watch out for. And Buffalo, let's add in that beast in the back end. Like, that's just something they're lacking right now. They need a guy there in the back end to help out this secondary. Well, that's going to do it here for my 2-round mock draft. Let me know what you think, agree or disagree. I hope you have a great day, and we'll be back here soon with another mock to go over something crazy, and I'll see you soon.